Castle versus cannon. It is a simple phrase for a monumental shift in power, stone giving way to fire. For centuries, the castle was the ultimate symbol of control, a fortress of stone that dominated the landscape and the people within it. High walls, imposing towers, deep moats. These were not just buildings, they were instruments of rule, projecting the authority of a lord or king over his domain. Exploring the past, powered by the future, we can see this conflict not just as a technological race, but as the turning point that ended one world and began another, rewriting the rules of who held power and how they kept it. The strength of a castle lay in its defiance of gravity and brute force. Its defenses were layered, a deadly puzzle for any attacker. First, a wide, water-filled moat. If you cross that, the outer wall, the curtain wall. Battlements above, defenders raining down arrows, rocks boiling liquids. Breach the outer defense and you enter the killing ground. Trapped between the outer wall and the inner wall of the keep, the final stronghold. Life inside these stone giants was a self-contained existence, built to withstand months or years. Within the walls, the lord and his family. Soldiers, servants, blacksmiths, cooks, stable hands. Chapels for prayer, great halls for feasts, dark dungeons for prisoners, storerooms of grain, salted meat, barrels of wine, deep wells and cisterns for water, designed to outlast enemies, a sanctuary of stability, a home, a barracks, a declaration of permanence. For a very long time, these defenses worked. Catapults flinging huge stones, trebuchets launching over walls, battering rams hammering gates, powerful but matched by the resilience of stone. Attacking a well-built castle was desperate, bloody, and expensive. Sieges dragged on for seasons, draining resources and morale. For defenders, the strategy was patience. As long as the walls stood and the food held out, they had the advantage. The world of stone and steel was not destined to last forever. A new and volatile force was making its way across the globe, a simple black powder that would completely upend the balance of power. Gunpowder, a mixture of saltpeter, charcoal, and sulfur, had been invented in China centuries earlier, but its journey west was slow, and its initial impact was small. When it first arrived in Europe in the 13th century, it was more of a curiosity than a weapon of war, used for primitive rockets, used for noisy firecrackers that amazed and frightened onlookers. Its military potential was not immediately obvious to the knights and lords who still trusted in their armor and their castle walls. The first attempts to weaponize this new substance were crude and often as dangerous to the user as they were to the enemy. Early firearms were little more than metal tubes, sometimes made of bronze, or forged iron strips bound together like a barrel. These guns were heavy, unreliable, and wildly inaccurate. They fired rough-hewn stone balls, or metal projectiles, with limited force and took a very long time to reload. For a while, they were used more for the terrifying noise and smoke they produced than for any real damage they could inflict upon a stone wall. A longbowman could fire arrows faster, more accurately, and with greater lethal effect against an enemy soldier. However, the idea of a weapon that used a chemical explosion to hurl a projectile was too powerful to ignore. Throughout the 14th century, metallurgists and engineers across Europe worked to improve the design. They learned to cast stronger barrels, developed more stable and potent forms of gunpowder, and began to understand the basic principles of ballistics. The cannons grew larger, their projectiles heavier, and their impact more forceful. They were still cumbersome machines, requiring teams of oxen and a specialized crew, but the seed of a revolution had been planted. For centuries, siege power was mechanical. Gunpowder unleashed chemical energy, a force of a completely different magnitude. While the first cannons may have only dented great walls, they signaled a new direction, a new philosophy of destruction. The question was no longer if a wall could be broken, but how long it would take. The arrival of effective cannons on the battlefield did not just add a new tool to the attacker's arsenal, it fundamentally rewrote the entire script of siege warfare. The old methods of scaling walls with ladders, undermining them with tunnels, slowly battering a gate, were now secondary. The cannon became the centerpiece of the assault, the undisputed star of the show. A siege was no longer a contest of patience against stone, but a brutal, noisy, and mathematical exercise in demolition. The primary objective was simple: to find a weak point in the castle's defenses and hammer it relentlessly until it shattered. Unlike a trebuchet's high arc, a cannon struck with a flat, immense velocity, delivering focused blows that sent shockwaves through the masonry, cracking the mortar, dislodging the stones. What a trebuchet might take weeks to achieve, a battery of cannons could accomplish in days. The deafening roar, the acrid smoke, the vibration of the earth demoralized defenders and instilled a sense of inevitable doom. This new form of warfare demanded siege masters, engineers and disciplined gunners, calculating angles, measuring distances, coordinating batteries, and shielding them with earthworks and trenches. The high walls that once promised safety became liabilities, large, static targets. Proud towers could be toppled into their own courtyards. The feeling of safety that stone had provided for 1,000 years was being blasted into dust, and with it, the entire medieval concept of defensive warfare was crumbling. If one event announced cannon's dominance, it was the fall of Constantinople in 1453. The legendary Theodosian walls, thought impregnable, were shattered by Mehmed II's super cannons, including Orban's monstrous bombard. Day and night the guns pounded. After 53 days, a breach opened, and the city fell. The cannon had killed the castle. In response, military architecture had to be reborn. Simply thickening walls was not sustainable. A new design philosophy was needed, built to cope with artillery. The answer was not higher, but lower and smarter. The Trace Italien. Low, thick, sloped earthen ramparts faced with brick or stone to absorb and deflect cannon fire. Bastioned star shapes eliminated dead zones. From one bastion, defenders laid enfilading cannon and musket fire across adjacent walls. These were offensive as well as defensive, designed around the cannon for powerful duels with besiegers. Complex scientific machines for war, expensive and grounded in engineering and ballistics. Cannons blew apart feudal independence. Kings with mobile artillery could reduce rebellious strongholds in weeks, centralizing power. Only states could fund casting, transport, and supply, creating professional standing armies and the bureaucracies to pay them. The mounted knight faded. The age of gunpowder began. The past moves forward as old symbols crumble and new ones rise from smoke and rubble. Tech and Trek, exploring the past, powered by the future.